talks on emotional maturity, the self is complete. What I mean is that the world cannot hurt you if you understand it rightly. This is not arrogance or pride. You're only inviting problems when you're proud. No one can hurt me. If you have an ego, there will be another one who will have a bigger ego. I am not talking about ego. I am saying that you should try to understand the other person. Why should he accuse you? Why should he bother you? Why is he frightened of you? Why is he jealous of you? What makes him so? The moment you ask these questions, you become an inquirer. You become understanding, sympathetic, and in the process also learn us to how to deal with that person. Sometimes you have to keep a distance. Sometimes you have to get away. Sometimes you have to say something. Sometimes you have to be patient. You can do that according to your disposition, as long as you are not hurt. Thus, you should become mature. Maturity is inner growth. It has to be initiated by you, not by God, because you have a free will and you can never be the loser. You may lose some money in the process of becoming mature, but so what? At least you are together as a person. And when you have acquired this maturity, you will be able to understand the truth that the self, I, is Purna, complete, whole. You are the whole. You are complete, whole. The whole cannot be made up of patches, just as infinity does not consist of finite numbers. So also, whole is always whole. And it is not something separate from me. Therefore, as the self, you are a whole person. You come across this whole person whenever you are happy. Whenever you are listening to music and feel happy, that is the music that you love. And also, you, the person, you whom you love. Both are loved in the experience of happiness. At that time, your likes and dislikes do not interfere, meaning that the wanting self, the struggling self, the small self does not present itself. Then you find that the situation and you form a complete circle. It is this circle that is called Purnatvam, the wholeness. This circle can manifest in any situation that makes you happy. You are watching the stars, you are pleased. You do not want the stars or anything else in the situation to be different from what it is. When you are pleased to meet a situation, the situation and you become a complete circle. At that time, you are in fact experiencing yourself because the whole is you. It is a thing to be understood. Experientially, Purnatvam, the wholeness, is known to you. You do not need a new experience of the whole. It is the confusion that is the problem, and not the lack of experience. The self is to be understood. Another problem regarding Vedanta is that people think Vedanta is intellectual knowledge, and having gained that knowledge, you should practice. Practice what? If practice is required, it is the practice of study of Vedanta. Atma Vare Shrothavya. The self must be listened to. It is a matter of listening. When you are listening to Gita, you are not doing anything intellectual because it is everything. The Gita is pramana, a valid means of knowledge. The words of Gita are a mirror that shows you what you are. When you want to see your face, you require a mirror because your eyes cannot objectify your face. When you see your face in the mirror, it is with your eyes that you see it. But you still require a mirror. So also, when you listen to Gita, it is with your intellect alone that you understand. But you require the mirror in the form of words of Gita. The person who is using the intellect is the person who is using this means of knowledge, and that person is whole. Param Brahma. The word whole serves as mirror to get you back to yourself, and you're never tired of looking at yourself in the mirror. You look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, even though you had already looked at yourself yesterday. The first thing that a person does in the morning is to look at oneself in the bathroom mirror, and thereafter the fellow takes every opportunity of looking at the self in every shining surface he comes across. When this physical body, with all its limitations, is so much loved by a person, what to talk of that self that is Ananta, full, and the mirror that reflects this complete self? No one will ever be tired of looking at this mirror that does not tell me that I am a sinner. Lord Krishna says, Apikedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakritatma sarvam jnanaplaneva rajnam santarishyasi. Even if you be the worst sinner among all the sinners, still you will cross over with ease all the sins with the raft of knowledge alone. If you are the greatest sinner who has committed all the crimes in the book and some more, even then you will cross this ocean of sin with the raft of knowledge, and that knowledge is the Gita. There is no new experience required here. It is the understanding of the experience that is required. The self is always experienced. You're able to listen to me because the self is ever shining. It has to be understood that the self is the whole. That understanding requires inner maturity. I should live the life of yoga in order to be mature. The Gita is Yoga Sastra too, because it talks about yoga, the means to gain inner maturity. What I have talked here so far is all based on Gita. For a yogi who has a mature mind of what is known as Suddhanta Karanam, there is something to be understood. Understanding the self is the very end in life. What you are seeking in life all along is self-acceptance. And that is possible only when self is acceptable. Otherwise, you cannot appreciate the teaching. When I say your happy self, it is not positive thinking. It is proper thinking. Positive thinking does not take you very far, because when there is positive thinking, a negative thinking is invariably involved in it. If a man has a very low image of himself, thinks of himself as useless, and if he is told that he is useful, he is great, that may help him. But ultimately, the positive thinking is only as valid as the negative thinking. However, when I say that you are already acceptable, it is not this positive thinking, because it is a fact. Self is acceptable, is Purna. That Purnatvam, that acceptability is experienced by you whenever you are happy, and that is to be understood. You must study the scriptures. Are scriptures the Upanishads, the Gita, are a mirror. It is amazing to study them. There is nothing intellectual in that study if the study is carried out in a proper manner. For example, you are listening to me right now. There is nothing intellectual in that. I'm using all the reasoning to ward off your irrational conclusions about yourself. You have to see the reasoning and knock off the irrational conclusions. How irrational the conclusions are has to be recognized as such. In the absence of proper reasoning, everything appears rational. What Shastra, the scripture, does is it brings to light all wrong conclusions and then knocks them off. The way of Shastra is not replaceable by any other method. No yoga can replace the study of Shastra, and so it is said, Sannyasa Shravanam Karyat. Give up everything and listen to scriptures. Shravanam means Shastra Vichara, enquiry into truth with help of Shastra. Shastra is a mirror for you, and you must seize the opportunity to study the scriptures and expose yourself to them. It's in all your blood, in your culture, in your upbringing. You may not know that you have already imbibed a number of things. You have to know. Sri Hanuman had to be told by Jambavan that he could lead and carry out the given task. He had to be told, and similarly, you also have to be told. You have it in you. There are a number of things in our religious culture, but you have to know, and that is what you do by the study of our scriptures, the Gita and the Upanishads. Om Tat Sat.